Hello everyone, my name is Akash Bhardwaj and today I'll be talking about creating a no-code chatbot using Azure QnAMaker. So today we'll learn about the QnAMaker service and we'll see how easily we can set it up in our environment. We'll learn about its knowledge base and the various options available to feed more and more data to it to make our chatbot more intelligent. And once we're done with setting up this QnAMaker, then we'll proceed to create a web app bot using the Azure bot service and configure it to use this knowledge base as its data source. And finally, we'll see how we can consume this bot in various applications like Teams, Facebook, or any custom client applications using the channels. So let's get started. So let me start off by giving a brief introduction about myself. My name is Akash Bhardwaj. I work as a Microsoft 365 consultant. I have experience working on SharePoint, Office 365 and Microsoft Azure. I'm a certified Azure Developer Associate, and apart from my usual work, I'm also an active contributor to the SharePoint Patterns and Practices open source community. So if you have any queries related to these technologies, or if you just want to reach out, feel free to say hi. Now let's start about the QnAMaker. So if we look into the official definition of it, it says that it's an Azure service that can be used to find the best answer for any question from a custom knowledge base of QnA pairs. So what this means is that a QnAMaker has one or more knowledge bases, which is basically just a collection of question and answer pairs. And now this service can be used to ask any questions, and then it would find the answer for that question from this knowledge base. So if it finds an answer for any question, then it would return that answer in a JSON format. Otherwise, it would just return some default response like no answers found. So not just this, but this QnAMaker also offers some very interesting features like natural language processing, which means that the phrasing of your question does not have to be exactly same as the one that's stored in the knowledge base. So even if the phrasing is slightly different, or if there are spelling mistakes, even then the service will automatically know the intent of your question and it would give you the expected response. And there is also this active learning feature, which basically is a way to further enhance your knowledge base in such a way that the knowledge base, the service itself, suggests you alternate questions for any questions. So this is done so that even if the users are asking multiple questions that are quite similar, even then the service returns you the same answer. And there are the multi-turn prompts as well, which is a way to create context-based engaging questions. So in this, the bot responds to a question with an answer, and it in turn asks a follow-up question, so that this can be used to create multi-turn prompts. Like the user asks one question, and then the bot returns an answer, and the bot in turn asks another question to the user. So in this way, you can create context-based conversations using the multi-turn prompts. So like it's quite evident, the most common use case for this QnAMaker is to create a chatbot, wherein the chatbot just gives us a medium through which the users can communicate with the service. So let me jump over to my browser and we'll see how we can get started setting it up. So QnAMaker.ai will be the one-stop of my QnA portal. So whenever I need to make any change to my QnAMaker service, this is the portal that I go to. I'll click on sign in here and sign in with my Microsoft account. So this is the portal that opens up for me. So here at the top you can see there are two tabs. One is for the My Knowledge Bases and another is for the Create a Knowledge Base. So let's assume we are using this service for the first time. So then we'll click on Create a Knowledge Base. Now this screen gives us a list of steps that we need to follow to get started. So the first step that it says is create a QnA service in Microsoft Azure. So since this is an Azure based service, it would require a couple of Azure resources to be created. So to get started with it, a basic prerequisite is that you must have an Azure subscription available for this. So these are the basically list of resources that would get created. Like the most important is the QnAMaker Cognitive Service. So this QnAMaker service is a part of the Azure Cognitive Services, and this would get created if you start using it. Apart from this, there would be an app service plan that would host an app service and an optional application insights resource. This can be enabled or disabled depending on whether you need to run some monitoring or analytics on your service. And then there is the search service. This search service would actually contain all the list of all the data of these question and answer pairs that we'll see. Like these are since these are Azure resources, they are very easily scalable and can be scaled as per changing demands. For example, if you decide to create some of the free resources early on, and then later on you decide that they are not meeting your needs, so then you can very easily decide to scale out those resources and upgrade them to a premium tier. So to follow the first step, let me click on this create a QnA service. So clicking on this would open the Azure portal for me, and here I'll need to provide some details about the resource, this cognitive service resource that I'm going to create. So first up, I need to enter a name for this. Then I need to select my subscription. So I have a Visual Studio Enterprise subscription here, so I'll let it be. Then I have the pricing tier for this QnA service. So here it gives me two options. So one is the free tier and the other is the standard tier. So the free tier is free of cost and you don't get charged for this, whereas the standard tier does have some cost associated to it. So the free one has some limited features like the number of documents you can add and the number of transactions you can do against this resource. So for now I'll select the standard tier, and then I need to enter a resource group name. So I'll create a new resource group name. Then I'll need to select the resource group location. So I'll select West USA, and then I have the Azure Search pricing tier. So like I said before, the Azure Search is the service that would actually store all your QnA pairs. So how much data you can store in the knowledge bases and how many knowledge bases you can create against a service. So that all depends on your search pricing tier. For example, the free tier here has 3 indexes, so you don't get charged for this, and it provides you only 3 indexes. So for 3 index search index, you can only create 2 knowledge bases against this service. Whereas for the basic tier that has 15 indexes, you can create 14 knowledge bases here, and so on it gets increasing. So for now I'll select the basic tier here. Then I need to enter a search location, so I'll let it be as the West US. Then the app name for my app service, so this is usually same as the name that you entered at the top. And then my website location for this app service, so I'll let it be as US, West US. And lastly, I have this application insights resource, so I can choose to enable or disable it. It is optional, but for monitoring and logging purpose, it is usually recommended to enable this. So I'll keep this as enabled and click on create. So this might take some time to create these resources, so I'm going to pause the video here. Okay, so my QnA service resources got created here. I can see them in the resource group that I created. So all the required resources are up now, and now I can go back to the QnAMaker portal and proceed to create the knowledge base. So step 1 has been completed, and now let's go to step 2. So here it says to connect the QnA service to our knowledge base. So from here I can select my directory, my Azure AD ID, and then my subscription name, the QnA service that we just created, and then the language. So for the third step, we'll now have to name our KB. So I'll give this a name. And in the next step, it gives us an option to populate our KB. So there are basically 3 ways to add data to our knowledge base. So one is through a URL, wherein you can specify the URL of any page that has a section of frequently asked questions. So if you have any such URL, so you can enter that and it would automatically extract the QnA pairs from that URL. The next option is to add a file. So this has to be a CSV or TSV file, wherein there are two columns, one for the questions and the other for the answers. So if you have such sheet maintained, so you can simply upload that sheet here, and this would extract those question and answers and add them to your knowledge base. And the third option is to editorially add through the portal that we'll see later on. So for now, I'm going to search for some Office 365 QnAs. So I search for this Office 365 FAQ. And this gives me this URL first up. So you can see this has a lot of frequently asked questions here. So I'll copy this URL and enter it here. So now I'll have all the questions and answers in this URL automatically added to my knowledge base. Up next, there is also an option to give the chit chat ability to our bot. So this is some personality based questions and answers that we can add to our knowledge base, so that it knows how to respond to basic questions like hello and how are you and thank you. So I can choose to select any of these options. So for now I'll select this as a professional. So I want to give a professional personality to this bot. So we are done with filling all the details here, and now I can just create my KB. So my knowledge base got created, and as you can see in this editorial view, you can see all the question and answers that were pulled in from this URL. So it automatically identifies the question and answers in that URL and it adds them here. Apart from this, there is this section for the QnA chit chat professional also. So here we have some common questions and the bot knows how to respond to such questions. Cool. So now for the third option, to add more knowledge and more QnA pairs to this knowledge base. So that's the simplest one actually. If you click on this add QnA pair here, you can just simply type in your question and answer here, and that would be added to the knowledge base. For example, I add in a question here, and the answer would be that's it. So I have added one question and answer here, and now I can save and train my knowledge base. And once it gets saved, so then I can also test this right here within the portal using this test button. So if I click on this, and now I ask it what is GAV. It gives me the response. It's Global Azure Virtual 2020. So now my knowledge base has been saved, and now I need to publish it so that it can be used in multiple applications. So that's it. We have created and published a QnAMaker service and its knowledge base. So now all we need to do is create a bot that uses this QnAMaker service to respond to users' questions. So what is a web app bot? A web app bot is basically just an Azure bot service bot that is deployed to an Azure App Service web app. So basically it's just an Azure web app, but with the extended features of the Azure bot service. So it can be created in C# or Node.js, but since we'll be creating a no-code chatbot here, so we'll be doing all this through the Azure portal itself without writing a single line of code. But since at the back end it's an application that's running in the web app, so we'll need to select what would be the language for this bot that's running in the back end, whether it would be in C# or Node.js. And once we have this bot created, and later on we decide that we need to make some change to its source code, or we need to just download it for local development. So then we can very easily download the entire source code for the bot that we would be creating. And you need to just deploy this bot once, and then you can use that same bot in multiple channels like Slack, Teams, Skype, or even any custom client-side application that you have. So now let's see how we can get started creating this web app bot. So on the screen where we published our knowledge base, so you see there is this create bot button. So let me click on this. So this once again opens the Azure portal for me, and now I'll have to give in the details about the web app bot that I need to create. So first up, I need to create a bot handle. So this would be the unique identifier for my bot. So it doesn't have to be exactly same as the display name, as I can update my display name very easily later on. So I'll let it be as is. Then the subscription, which is already pre-populated for me. The resource groups, so I'll be creating this in the same resource group in which my QnA service resides. The location would be West US, like I have for my other resources. And then the pricing tier. So here as well there are two pricing tiers. So one is the free tier and the standard tier. So the free one is free of cost but offers some limited functionality. So for now I'll be selecting this standard tier. Then the app name. So once again this is the same as my bot handle. And this would be the name of the web app that gets created. And next here I can select whether I want my bot code to be in C# or Node.js. So I'll just need to select this and it automatically takes care of the template that it picks to create my bot. So I'll stick to C# here. And then for the next option I have the QnA auth key. So this is the key that is configured so that it creates a connection to my knowledge base. So if I go back to my QnA portal, so you will see there is this authorization endpoint key here, and if you notice this key would be the same that I have pre-populated here. So this key is the key that establishes the authentication between my QnAMaker service knowledge base and my web app bot. And this is very important, and it needs to be same as the authorization key for your knowledge base against which you are creating this bot. So next would be the app service plan. So this bot would be using the same app service plan that I created early on, but if I want some different one, so I can choose that as well. And again here as well I have the application insights resource, so I can either enable it or disable it, but for the logging purpose I would prefer to keep this as on. And then the location, so I can select any location here. So for this as well I'll select the West US. And the last option here is the Microsoft App ID and password. So this is what this does is it creates a registration and app registration in your Azure AD portal. So if I click on it, so there are two options here. So one is to auto create the app ID and password, and the other is to create a new app registration. So for now I'll let it be as auto create, because then it would automatically handle all the authentication details for me for this bot. But if you don't have access to directly create a new app registration from here, then you can create it separately, a new app registration, and then you can enter that here, the app ID and secret. You can enter it here. For now I'll let it be as auto create, and I'll just hit create. Okay, so my bot resources got created, and you can see these at the bottom. So if we have a look at the resources that gets created regarding to this web app bot, so there is this web app bot that gets created, and this is with respect to the app service for the web app. So basically these two are kind of the connected resources. So the app service is your normal Azure web app service, and the web app bot is the feature that provides you the additional features of the Azure bot service. And apart from this, the application insights, the optional one, since we had it enabled, so it got created here. So now if I open this web app bot resource, so you can see these are all the features that Azure bot service offers us. So if we have a look at this build option here, so this download bot source code is the option through which you can download the source code for this bot to your local environment. And then there is this test in web chat feature. And this is one really handy feature that you can use to check from within the portal that if your web app bot is working fine or not. So let's try that out and say hi. So since we are running this for the first time, it can take a little while to respond. Now I'll ask that same question here. What is GAV? And it returns me this response. So cool, our web app bot is working fine. Now let's see what are the various options through which we can consume this bot in other channels. So a channel is basically a connection between the bot and other communication apps. Like for example, you have Slack, Teams, Skype, Cortana. So if you want to use your bot in any of these applications, or let's say you have any custom client-side application that you have built and you want to use the bots there, so that you can very easily do using channels. So the same web app bot can be configured to be used across multiple channels so that your same code runs and gets consumed in all of these applications. So the one channel that we are going to explore today is the direct line channel. So this is the one that's used to connect your bot to a custom client-side application using a secret key. So let's have a look at that. So if I click on this channels tab in the left, so this would give me this screen where it says connect to channels. So right now you can see this web chat channel is automatically running. So this is one channel that gets automatically configured for you to use. So if you want to render your bot within an iframe in any HTML page, so this is the channel that you can use. But for now we'll be exploring this one, this direct line channel. So if I click on this, so I can just click on done here and it would configure this direct line channel for me. But if you notice here, there are two secret keys here. So what's the use of this secret key is that if I'm going to consume this bot to any client-side application, any custom application that I've built, so I can do that only using this secret key. So this is basically used to make a connection between your custom application and this bot. So let me click on show here. So I'll copy this as I'll be using this in a custom client-side application that I've built, and I'll click on done here. That's it. So we have configured the direct line channel for this bot as well. Now let me open a custom client-side application that I've built. So here I have a SharePoint site, and for this site I've created a SharePoint application. It's an SPFX, a SharePoint Framework web part that basically renders this bot within this window. So if I edit this page, so here I have given a property to just enter that direct line secret, and if I paste this secret that we copied earlier and enter it here, so then this would configure my chatbot to be used. So if I refresh the page now and I try it out, so I get this response. Now I ask the same question and it gives me the response. So just like that, using the direct line channel secret, so we have established a connection between this custom application and our web app bot. So it's as simple as that. So today we learned about the QnAMaker service, and we saw how easy it is to create a web app bot in Azure that's configured to our QnAMaker knowledge base. And we also saw how we can consume that bot in other applications like any custom client-side application, or there are other options to use that in Teams, Slack, or any other popular application as well. So that's all I had to offer for this session. If you have any queries, any feedback, or if you'd just like to say hi, so feel free to connect with me using any of the handles. Thank you.